Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and I am finally back from my vacation, so I know I'm a little bit behind on content. So we are going to squish a bunch of stuff into one video. So what we're going to do in this video is we are going to be looking at my Shantotto summons. I did do these last night at like midnight, and it was a little late to just record them live. So I'm just going to commentate over my pre-recording here, but I decided to go more in on Shantotto than Ursula because I have Ursula fully built with the FR. I'm just missing the BT. And I'm not really into like chasing the BT right now, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to squeak in a Shantotto FR, because then I could have another BT FR Echo character, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go through my summons here. Then I'm going to do my Should You Pull, and we're going to talk about this banner and the mystery banner that they brought up, which was another thing that I did kind of predict was going to happen, which we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into it. I think we're going to have a lot of fun things to talk about. I think something very exciting could be happening very soon, and we'll talk about that as we get to it, right? So here, I'm just going through my free multis and not really getting what I want. Kind of going skippy here because I'm kind of not feeling like going through it. But then right there, I skip a gold orb, and I get an extra Shantotto BT. So that actually puts me at 50 BT tokens. Not to mention, the current co-op has 10 more BT tokens in it. So like, I could just flat out grab a BT at this point. So what I'm thinking is potentially the banner after Shantotto, I may be tokening that character because I feel like it's going to be something exciting. We'll see though. We'll talk about it. The community stream's going to be coming up. I believe it's on Monday already, so it's coming up pretty soon. Should be a very exciting community stream to watch because I think there is going to be an exciting announcement in there of some kind. And it's something I've been talking about for a while, right? Because of the way the schedule is. So we'll get there. But yeah, you can see here, I'm just going through with tickets now. And then there we go, FR Orb. So I'm like, all right, just be Shantotto and we're good. And this was like, it wasn't that bad. I think this was like 30 or 40 tickets or something. So we'll go through and we'll let this ride. Okay, yep, and then FR is going to be coming up here. So I got a few golds there, which is good, because I definitely need the power stones. And there we go, Shantotto FR. So not too bad. Just did my free multis and like, what, 40, 50 tickets, something like that, and we got the FR, not too bad. So anyways, let me know how your summons went on this part here. So now let me go back to here, and let me take this off, and we're going to go to my live feed here. So let me just talk about the banners that came up. And kind of the significance of them and should you pull or not. So the first thing that happened is you know, we had another kind of 6-day gap in between known banners, right? And I said, because the first time we had a 6-day gap, they slid in a campaign banner. I said, there's a really good chance I'm actually expecting them to slide in another campaign banner. And sure enough, they slide in this Terra Dark Knight Cecil banner. So what that tells me is they're definitely not like, you know, we're ahead like 2 to 3 weeks on the timeline right now. And it tells me that they're definitely not like saving that slot for these campaign banners because they're just sliding them in. So we're getting caught up on the campaign banners. So now it's like even more telling me like I've got that tingle, right? Like something big is coming is what I'm feeling. And obviously what my gut reaction is, you know, Final Fantasy 16, the beta just dropped. People are loving the game. How else do you build more hype for the game? Well, put Final Fantasy 16 characters in the game, right? And something that was brought up was that, you know, in Japan, they didn't get their new character for the month, and their Ope Ope, which is their like announcement thing, is around the same time as our community stream. So I'm actually like feeling kind of strong that there may actually be like a Final Fantasy 16 join celebration for DFFOO, which they have never done a join celebration before, right? So I think that the chances are actually, I think, seeming actually better and better the closer we get to it. When I first mentioned it, it seemed kind of far-fetched, but man, it's just things are lining up way too well. They're putting in all the campaign banners, and it's like, if not, and here's the thing, even if it's not Final Fantasy 16, like this joint celebration that I think it might be, I feel like it's still going to be something exciting, because they're making room for something. They don't just block out this much time and then just have it there, unless they're trying to get the games aligned, which I guess is possible. But dude, 8 months is a lot of game to cover to try to get the games aligned, so I don't think that's what they're doing, because 2 to 3 weeks is a long ways from catching up to 8 months, and I don't think there would be a point to doing that. Like, the games are too far apart, right? So I think that you guys just need to be, so when I do this should you pull portion here, keep in mind that something very exciting might be dropping, I think as soon as the next banner, because we haven't had anything announced after Shantotto, and the community stream is going to be happening. And what I say in my previous video where I was talking about that I think Clive is coming, I did a video that I think Clive is coming, I said if we look at the history of all these global first or these really big announced characters like Anniversary and things like that, they always make them the first thing in the slideshow. And this community stream just lines up to where like there's this big open gap, we don't know what's coming, and it's really open for like the first thing to be announced to be the new thing, because we can use up this 2 weeks span like right now and then go into like normal timeline from there, right? So I think it's going to be crazy. I think there's going to be something really exciting. Going into a community stream other than like an anniversary, this is probably one of the most hyped times I've been, because I feel very strong that something big is coming, whether it be FF16. The other thing that I mentioned that could be happening is they could just bring like Clive to JP, but then Global could get a Global First Echo still, which would still be very exciting, right? So either way, I think there's something big coming. So you got to keep that in mind when thinking about if you should pull. Now, this Terra Dark Knight Cecil campaign banner, I actually think is a very, very easy skip. The only thing notable about Terra is that, like, she has Echo and she has instant turn Echo, which is nice. But she's like a damage dealer, and I feel like she's just outclassed by other damage dealers. And I hate to say it, because Terra's like one of my favorite characters in the Final Fantasy franchise, but she's really not worth pulling on. There are way better damage dealers to be grabbing right now. Dark Knight Cecil, I've just never been a fan of him. Because he hurts himself, he depletes his own health. I just don't like characters typically that do that. But he does, I believe he carries like a nice HP poison. He can do some good things, right? He's got some launching. But these are both, like, the way I'd look at this banner, these are kind of two mid damage dealers is what they are. They're just mid-level damage dealers. They don't really bring anything special other than, yeah, Dark Knight Cecil's got some launching and poisoning. But Terra is like literally just damage and has like a nice double echo. But really, this isn't a banner you should be going in on, right? Then we have Shantotto and Ursula. I just got to find it here. Okay, so let's talk about the Shantotto side first. I would say this is also a very easy skip. Shantotto is very much a niche character. Shantotto can do some cool things. The two notable things about Shantotto is she has an Omni Imperil, and then she also has a 2-turn like unique debuff that is essentially a paralyze. That I would say is the best part about Shantotto's kit. When you get really toxic fights where you just have to stop the enemies, like the one mission quest I had just done with Fusoya, like that's a really great place you could slide in Shantotto and like do that well, right? But Shantotto really isn't like a top tier damage dealer. I've actually been using her a little bit already. I used her last night. And like, yeah, she didn't like overly impress me on the damage. Like her damage is fine. She can do like 1.5 mil shots, you know, like typical damage for like a mid-range damage dealer. But like for the tech that Shantotto brings, the problem is Shantotto's like main thing that she's always had is the Omni Imperil, which was cool back in the day. But Omni Imperil isn't really that big of a deal because any character that carries an element, most of them just imperil their own element anyways. So you're always getting weakness damage if you're bringing an elemental character. So the Omni Imperil is almost a little bit pointless. And plus having too many elements going on can actually be a bad thing. And Shantotto, I believe, carries like 3 different elements. And so that can also be a deterrent because enemies may absorb one of those elements. And then either Shantotto or partially is getting locked out of the fight. You never like that, right? The side characters here, we have Saz. Saz is solid, but he's just not that great anymore, like being an LD only character. Like, you can get away with him because he's a support character, but like, he doesn't really do anything special in terms of damage. His support is just okay, but like, you want to bring like Echo support characters, right? So he's not doing enough that like he's like an oh my god like a selfie like you need to have him. So definitely don't worry about Saz right now. The one notable thing I'll say about Saz though is he does have a very good sphere. So if you do end up summoning here and get his EX, definitely save those. His spheres are very good. Leon now is actually a very good like tank like character. The only thing with Leon that stops him from being ultimately busted is that his tanking is a little bit secluded. Like you can't use his tanking anywhere. His whole deal is that he actually like enchants the enemies and makes them do dark damage, and then he makes it so your party absorbs dark damage. So in fights where it works, like Leon is really, really good, right? His damage isn't going to be good because he's LD only. But like as a tank in certain fights, sure, Leon can work really good. The only problem is if enemies carry any element other than dark, like his enchant won't work. It's not a true enchant, so he can't enchant over other elements. So he really only works if the enemies are already doing dark or if they're non-elemental. So the reason why Leon isn't like regarded as this godly tank like Gladio is that you can't use him in every fight. So I actually wouldn't stress about getting him either. I think this overall is a very, very skippable banner, right? Now we go to the Ursula side. Now Ursula is a little bit of a different story because Ursula is a very good character. But the reason why this banner is a little bit more tempting for people is we got Gladio here. And Gladio is that selfie level. I would say Gladio and Selfie are probably the two best LD only characters in the game. So like, that being said, like if you don't have Gladio, it actually might be worth going in here just to get Gladio. Like I think Gladio's better than Ursula. I'm not going to lie. Like Gladio is so good. He is actually, I think, the best tank in the game. He's my favorite tank to use. Like he's crazy. Even though he doesn't have Echo and all that stuff, like he is the definition of like a counter tank because he does both of the things you want a tank to do. He counters and he completely negates damage. So anything single target, you literally cannot die unless it's an auto kill. AoE stuff can still catch you because it's going to hit everybody, but like Gladio is going to negate out some of that anyway. So yeah, Gladio is absolutely fantastic. So people, you definitely want Gladio in your box. He's an amazing unit to have for sure. Aiko is solid. Like Aiko's like a battery support, like HP regen type of healing character. The two things I don't like about Aiko is her healing is HP regen, which can be a little bit slow. Like you like burst healing if you can get it. But the big thing I don't like about Aiko is that her LD, which is going to be like a main part of her kit, revolves around you dying and reviving or taking a lot of damage and reviving. And I just don't like that like a huge part of her kit relies on basically not playing well or like dying. So Aiko definitely had, like, people have used Aiko as like a cheat code because like, yeah, enemies can do auto kill things. She can make you revive and you can keep doing the fight. So like if you like those types of strategies to like try to get around mechanics, you can use it. But me personally, I prefer to play the fights well to where like I'm trying not to die. And because I'm trying not to die, I'm not really going to get to use most of Aiko's, like the big part of her kit that makes her good. So like I would just rather use a different support character. But if you do decide to go on this banner because you're gunning for Gladio or Ursula, like Aiko is definitely a serviceable LD only character, and you definitely, like, her revive can definitely help people in fights. She is really good too for like newer or less experienced players that maybe you want to have, you know, the ability to be able to die and continue a fight without losing. Aiko definitely can be good for that. So overall, like, this banner is leagues better than the Shantotto banner for sure, because I think both of the side characters have use, and Gladio is up there with Selfie as like best side character you could ever pull for in a banner right now. So for sure, very much worth it on the side banners here. And then Ursula, she's a unique like battery type support character, and what they really showcase in the Shinryu fight, which I'm going to get a video on a little bit later, is that the way her battery works, for some of her battery, it doesn't actually like make the party gain brave. It just sets your brave to a certain amount, to like your max brave value. So what they really showcase with Ursula in her Shinryu fight here is that when you have heavy brave gain reductions, she can get around it because she'll just set the party's max brave to whatever their max brave cap is, which is very good, right? And now she's getting a BT, which makes her a lot better. So, and Ursula's putting up fairly decent damage. One thing I do really like about Ursula too is that her Echo is an instant turn, so it is spammable. You can go back-to-back Echo and just get a couple of nice gains there. So yeah, she is a very, very nice character. I would say, personally, I still like Iris and Rem better for like support characters. But Ursula is definitely very good. And because Gladio's on the banner, like if you don't have Gladio and you end up getting Ursula, then like, yeah, she's a great character to build up. So I would say if you already have Gladio though, I would say you might want to just skip out right now. Because like I said, we need to know what's going on in the community stream. And what I would think is the safe option, this banner is still going to be live after the community stream's done, right? This banner's up till July 6th. The community stream here should just be in a few days. So if you're in doubt on either of these banners and your resources are low, I would just wait for the community stream. Make sure you know what is coming out next, because even if they don't drop something new, like there's still very good stuff coming out in July. And if they don't add something new, there is a chance that Astos actually bumps into July, and he's like the crazy god that everyone's been talking about getting. So you might want to be careful with your resources, especially right before a community stream when some really hype stuff could get announced. So anyways, guys, let me know if you're going to pull on these banners. Let me know if you think something hype is coming as well. I think it's FF16 to both versions at the same time would be really, really hype. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.